having been reading this gospel now for many, many years, as a seminarian and as a priest for over 40 years, you still every once in a while notice something you haven't noticed before. It at least hits you in a way that it never hit you before. And I was struck by this little phrase. He, meaning Jesus, sat down opposite the treasury and observed. You know, when we think of Jesus, we think of all the things that he said. His formal statements, his answer to questions by individual people, the miracles that he performed and the things that he did, and his teachings and so forth. But we do not think always of Jesus as someone who observed us. Jesus is God with us, Emmanuel, God with us, to observe us, to look. He sat down outside the treasury and just looked, just watched what was happening. Amazing when you stop and think of it. And yet that's so important that God noticed. He noticed how we were living. He noticed our lives. He noticed individuals. Now sometimes he used what he noticed in his teaching. Sometimes he used what he noticed as an occasion to perform a miracle. But first, God noticed. And God noticed not just the famous, not just the people who were in charge, but God noticed even the poorest of the poor. God even noticed people that nobody else noticed. I think when he was turning to the apostles, he said, you see that poor widow over there, and they're going, where? You know, that one right over there. See that one right over there? They probably didn't notice her. God noticed. God noticed. See? Think of all the things that Jesus noticed. He noticed when the fishermen came in that they hadn't caught any. Occasioned the miracle of the miraculous catch. He noticed that the people were hungry and then responded to their hunger by the multiplication of the loaves. He noticed the tax collector Matthew and called him. But first he noticed God attending to lives, even the lives of people and the situations that nobody else is paying attention to. The leper, the blind man over in the corner, the beggar, the lame person. Jesus notices the big crowd gathers around to listen to him. He notices that the apostles are pushing all the little children off. Go play in traffic, kids. We've got important stuff to do here. And Jesus said, don't do that. Bring them right here. I want to see them. I want to touch them. It says, yeah, I actually want to reach out and I want to be that close to them. I don't want them shoved off, into some day school or daycare while we get on to the business of preaching. So Jesus is God with us, noticing how we live and who we are, even the simplest among us and the most neglected among us. So God notices. Jesus notices a couple of things here. Matthew has put them in order. The first thing that he notices is he notices the scribes. Now the scribes are the people that were wearing a special religious garb for scribes. And it was a special stole that they got to wear. Now who was a scribe? A scribe was an expert in the law. Lawyers. Okay? So, unlike lawyers today, these were lawyers who were not adverse to displays of self-promotion. Okay, not like lawyers today, but these lawyers, they were out there wanting everybody to see them and pay attention to them. They were advertising. One of their big businesses, by the way, one of the ways in which they made a lot of money was managing the finances for widows. If your husband died in Israel and left money, left an estate, and there were no sons to take care of the money for you. Women were not allowed to own anything or take care of their own finances or anything like that. It was not allowed. So you had to get somebody to manage that. So the scribes, they managed rich widows' fortunes, you see. And they took a commission. The more things changed, the more they remained the same. And so they were out there looking for commissions, and that's why Jesus actually says of them that they're wearing these costumes that say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a canon lawyer, or church lawyer, and I can take care of your estate, and just, I look at what I'm wearing, see how religious I am. So you can trust your, husband's estate to me. And Jesus recognizes them, he notices them, and he says, they devour the houses of widows. In other words, taking their commission, they reduce the estate by quite a bit. And so he's noticing that. He notices how they walk around and they're looking for business. And then he notices a widow. None of them would be interested in this widow because she's got nothing. Okay? And to be a widow in those days and to have nothing meant you were among the poorest of the poor. The two groups that would have been the poorest among the common people would have been the widows and orphans. They had nobody to take care of them. And Jesus notices what she has put in the collection compared to what other people. We can pretty well say that probably nobody else was paying much attention to this. This was not somebody that people even know. This woman was not somebody that people were noticing, first of all. And secondly, they would not have been impressed by what she put in the collection. All right. But Jesus noticed. Emmanuel, God with us, God sees. God sees. Now that's important, isn't it? It's important for us. We live in an age in which to be seen is what everybody hungers for. To be seen or heard. So we have all these social media and so forth in which we allow ourselves to be seen by people all over the world, And they can write to us and they want to be our friends, It's a wonderful thing. And we're seen, and that gives us a sense, boy, I must be important. Look how many people are seeing me. I call up on the phone every 5 minutes to City Hall. They know my name, boy, down there. I call up even when I don't have anything to say, I'm noticed. I'm noticed. It's very important to people. I think there's a lot of insecurity in our world today. And that's part of the reason why we need other people to affirm that we are alive and that we have some significance. But the most important one to be seen by is not your Facebook friends. The most important one to know in your heart that you are seen by is God. And it is God who validates our importance in His eyes. Even when nobody else sees us. Even when we're all alone. Even when nobody else is sending us emails and nobody else is calling us on the phone and we're sitting in the silence of our own home or apartment or whatever it may be. What our faith tells us is that God sees. And the God among us, Jesus, showed that when He was here on this earth. And that's why I suggest that of all the many lessons we can take from this gospel, it would be safe